Since we're exploring, let's go ahead and do a metallic version within Illustrator. Later on, we'll head to Photoshop and I'll show you a little trick you can use to put a picture inside the letters. So I'm going to get rid of my rulers by pressing Command or Control R. And I'm going to grab my letters here and I'm going to put a gradient in it. So let's grab our gradient tool and click on the default gradient. And we're going to grab our gradient tool and simply click and drag like so to go ahead and place that gradient inside of the letters like so. I'll go ahead and stretch across the whole logo. We're going to add some more stops here to this logo to make it look more metallic. Now, one thing about metal, the light colors butt up against the dark colors pretty closely. So I'm going to add a couple of these guys. And for this one, I'm going to make this color pretty bright. Okay. This one here will be pretty dark. And you can make a dark color. You can make a dark blue in there. It doesn't have to be completely black. We'll make this color light, and I'll move it closer like so, and make it a grayish color. And I'm going to add a couple more. We'll make this one a blue, and I'm going to add one more here as well. Make this white. And this one is going to be black. So I'm going to make that one dark. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply move these guys around so they're kind of squeezed in closely to one another. And we'll have a more metallic look, as you can see here. And I'm going to add just one more here so that's got a little bit more of a contrast in there. And as you can see, we have a nice metallic feel in this logo. Don't forget, you can always take your gradient tool and you can redraw that gradient to the angle that makes you happy. So you just explore until you find something that looks good. Like even up and down looks pretty good like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of this stroke here. I have a black background. I'll hit X on my keyboard and I'm going to make this stroke white just to see what it looks like. And I'll deselect it. Not bad. Once again, we're exploring, we're having a good time, and we're just having fun together, trying to find something that looks pretty cool. Purple looks interesting. So we'll keep it on purple for now. And we're going to apply everything we did to these pieces by simply grabbing our eyedropper tool and clicking somewhere in one of these guys here. And you notice the gradient goes in there as well. Now it might be too drastic inside of there, so we can tweak it a little bit. Also, the stroke is too thick as well. As you can see, outside of our text we have an 8-point stroke that I applied earlier. I'm going to drop this down to, let's say, 4-point. And on the gradient inside of here, I'm not too happy with it. So I'm going to go back to the gradient here and I'm going to click and pull out some of these stops. And you'll notice that it only affects the new thing that we're working on here. So if I grab all of these and pull them out, the gradient that we created still stays inside of there. So you can always keep that in mind. You're working on a brand new gradient. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this a black fill here and just give this one a lot simpler gradient inside so it doesn't fight too much with the other one. So this is our second version here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that black outline and so we can see what we have. So we have our shadow, we have our metallic effect inside of our logo, and we have the metallic inside of the nuts and bolts. Continue to explore and experiment until you find something that looks good. Now me particularly, I'm not exactly happy with this stroke color, so I would just keep exploring. I might choose a gray so that it looks more like it belongs with the metallic logo. And I think that is exactly what happened. I would also probably go in here and change the shadow. So never ever stop until you find something that feels exactly right. That purple stroke wasn't working, the blue stroke wasn't working, but this gray one outside of this metallic one does look like it fits perfectly. Don't forget, guys, you can also take your shadow. Let me go to my shadow here, and you can drop the opacity down of that shadow if it's too strong. So I'm going to grab my transparency panel, and we're going to drop that shadow down because it's just competing way too much with our logo. You want to have a balance. You want to have harmony. The most important part of this logo is the word. The shadow was fighting with the logo. So you want to make sure at all times that you squint your eyes every once in a while so the message is clear. Earlier, before I made this a little lighter, if I tried to read this by squinting, I couldn't see what was going on because the shadow was saying, look at me first. So shadows are important, but they should never overpower your artwork. So that is our next version. Feel free to save it as version B or version gradient or whatever you like to call this second version.